Thank you for tuning in to watch our 7th annual Focus Atlanta Leadership Summit. You're about to watch panel number 2, Reinventing the Engine, how AI, education, and industry partnerships are being aligned to empower Atlanta's economy and businesses. Be sure to like and subscribe for more leadership insights. Enjoy.
Good morning, everybody. Gosh, we're gonna break now. Gotta get them back. All right, welcome to panel 2. My name is Doug Blizzard. I am from Raleigh, North Carolina. We have no baseball team, so go Braves. How about that? And Hawks, and Falcons, and whoever else. And Dream, and United. All right, so again, glad to be here. My company, Catapult Employer Association, we help companies with all things HR. I've got a distinguished panel here, and speaking of HR and workforce, we're going to talk about the intersection of business and education, which is critical. As we know here in Atlanta, talent has always been at the center of what drives things. I was on a panel last week talking about this very topic around real estate, mobility, and talent can move faster, right, than real estate and development and infrastructure. So talent's a critical component. And obviously talent has been changing, and what talent wants and needs is different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and will definitely be more different in 5 or 10 years. I was lamenting with a few CEOs recently about who've retired, asking them if they ever thought they'd see a time in the world where you had to almost negotiate to get your employees to work, because they want to work where? At home. So it's a strange time. So today's all about this intersection of business and education. The center of that, of course, being talent, and how we're preparing our businesses, preparing our students to be the workforce we need going forward. So I'm going to ask each person, when I ask this first question, to introduce themselves. And when you introduce yourself, since it is a talent panel, I'd love if you could think about what's one skill that you are overusing today that you were just surprised by. For me, that skill is I'm having to learn and develop the skill of talking to my AI agent every day. Now, given my name Blizzard, my AI agent's name is Cool Breeze. So I talk to Cool Breeze all day long. And I'm getting used to how I have to phrase things, so Cool Breeze will give me a good answer. That's crazy. All right, let's talk about setting the stage then for talent. So over the last few years, what has changed most about how businesses approach the workforce, and what does a prepared student look like now in both the eyes of business and educators? Is there still a gap? And let's start. You want to go first, Tom?
Sure, why not? John Fuchko, I serve as president of Dalton State College. I'm also a colonel in the Georgia Army National Guard. And in the theme of Ricky Smith and the busiest airport in the world, I would say you're kind of an air traffic controller of information every day. I just get not overwhelmed, but kind of shocked by the amount of just information streams that are coming on so many different issues every day. So that would be the skill.
Curator-in-chief?
Yeah, curator-in-chief, I guess. So, I think if in terms of a prepared student, I think businesses, of course, all have different needs. But ultimately, they'll talk about somebody who can add value to the organization. And I think they would say, critical thinking, effective communication skills, relevant knowledge, teamwork, et cetera, right? Using AI, using technology. And all of you would say, well, that's like saying you like the Atlanta Braves and apple pie. Everybody says they want that. I don't know that that is fully what we mean or what we're really looking for when we say a prepared student. I think going maybe a step further, I think there is a gap. There is a gap between what businesses really, truly maybe know they need, maybe don't know they need, and sometimes what we in education think we should be providing. So I have an MBA from Georgia State University. I'm a proud Panther there. And yeah, thank you. They teach us lots of ways to calculate an ROI. Pretty easy. Come out of school, probably want somebody who can prepare a spreadsheet, even though I guess Cool Breeze maybe does that for you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But you also want somebody who maybe can provide you some insight as to like what the Aeneid or what Shakespeare or what Mark Twain or Maya Angelou has to offer about a situation going on in real life.
Right.
And I know AI is going to be a big part of our conversation today, but I think capturing that human, capturing that moral and ethical reasoning and that perspective is really pretty critical. And that's where maybe that gap exists.
Thank you. Kevin.
Thank you. My name's Kevin Glass. I'm the head of school at Atlanta International School. Been head of school there for 17 years now. And when we think of what we're doing to prepare students for their future lives, I always think about a 3-year-old who started in our school this school year, and that they'll graduate in 2040. What will their world be like? What are we doing now to prepare those young people, not just to survive, not just to thrive, but to your point, to add value to whatever community, workplace, place they find themselves in the world? And what we're noticing in our school and in education is that these young people are going to have to manage challenges of complexity beyond anything that we ourselves have experienced when we're growing up. So how do we develop that critical thinking, that perseverance, that thinking outside the box? We know that they're going to be swimming in a sea of ever-evolving technology and AI. We don't want them just to survive with AI. We don't even want them to thrive with AI. We want them to integrate AI into what they are doing, again, so they can add value and solve the problems that matter to them in the places that they find themselves, workplace, community, here in Atlanta, or to be honest, anywhere in our incredibly interconnected world. So that's where my head goes with this.
Jerome, how about the business side?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, first off, John, thank you for your service as well. The other thing is, and I don't know if Ricky's still in the audience, but I did Google Gemini and asked what's the most efficient airport in the world, and Atlanta comes up. So
yes.
That's awesome. I flew in this morning from Fort Lauderdale, and I take a bunch of trips, and it is absolutely the most efficient. So listen, from a business perspective, we think there's a heavier balance of shifting of like technical skills to durable skills, right? John mentioned some of those. We think about learning agility, curiosity, collaboration, all of those things, those durable skills, we believe there's a heavier balance down. It doesn't mean that we don't look at static job descriptions. It just means that those practical skills are playing a larger part in how we see our employees. Listen, I have a team. I'm the region president for Verizon in the 5-state area. We've got 13.5 million customers. We see about 30,000 of those customers a day. 30,000 interactions across our 1,000 stores in the 5-state area. We require our employees to meet the customers where they are, and sometimes that's real-time problem solving. It is fluidity of conversation. It's communication skills. All of those things matter because they have to meet the customers where they are. And so when we think about the prepared student of tomorrow, it's marrying the technical skills that my colleagues up here in the education space provide with those durable skills. And candidly, we think that as we look at on the business side, it's opening the opportunities to internships, to applied learning, and that's where the partnership I think takes a lot of shape. So, looking forward to the panel today, and candidly, I am extremely excited to be here and with my esteemed colleagues up here.
Great, thank you. Thank you, George.
All right, good morning, everybody. George Lewis, president of Clayton State University. Been president at Clayton State for 3 years and have been in the Atlanta metro area since 2019. I was thinking about your first question, which referred to what do I do now that I didn't think I would be doing? And that is managing parking. It is one of my biggest challenges every day. I didn't realize I was responsible for all of the parking spaces outside of my office. And some of you may be dealing with some of that as well.
Logistical technician then, right?
Yes. So that is a challenge. But first I would like to say, in listening to the question, we all are employers, and I'm an educator as well. And so as an employer, I'm looking for somebody to start day one ready. And I want them to have the skill set and start day one ready. And it's funny, we're even talking about this question right now because our new employees are smarter than they've ever been. They have more access to knowledge than anybody in the room as you have grown up. It should be an easy transition, but I think I would agree that there is a gap. There is a gap. I mentioned that our students are smart, but there are things that are necessary. You mentioned durable skills, essential skills, soft skills, whatever you want to call them. They're so essential to navigating work. An example that I will give at Clayton State University, you cannot graduate unless you have some experiential learning, whether it's an internship that you mentioned. If you're a student teacher, you're going to student teach, you're going to be in clinicals, you're going to do something that gives you an opportunity to get that experience that helps our employees be ready on day one. And so those things I think are really important. And as educators, that's our responsibility to identify what that problem is, put things in place to shrink that gap, and then implement so when they do show up at your place of employment or at your business, that you're satisfied with the product that you're getting.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, welcome. So AI, tool transformation, is it changing workforce development in a bigger way? We hear a lot of debates now around the use of AI in education, for example, in business. Is it cheating? Is it, speak to that, please, John.
First, I do want to say, as business owners, right, the only thing worse than not managing parking is managing empty parking. So we're all thankful for the great enrollment at Clayton State and at Dalton State.
Good.
Yeah. So
That's great.
you know, thinking about AI, and I'm gonna. It's too early for this, but I'm gonna talk about whiskey here for just a minute. And you might, where is he going with this? So there's this great speech. It's a 1952 speech, and the guy's name is Soggy Sweat. Not making this up. He was a judge in Mississippi. I think his real name was Noah, but he went by Soggy Sweat. And he was asked what he thought about whiskey. And he kind of went on this thing about it, and it will go something like this. You've asked me my opinion on whiskey. Let me tell you, if you're talking about the devil's brew, the poison scourge, the evil drink, et cetera, he's like, I'm entirely against whiskey. Now he says, if you're talking about the oil of conversation, the philosophic wine, the stimulating drink, which pours millions of dollars into our treasury, I'm completely for it. This is my stand. I will not retreat from it. I will not compromise. If you don't, I can't do it justice. Look up the full speech. So I'm gonna transition that now to AI because it describes exactly how I feel about artificial intelligence, but also a way I think that maybe we ought to be thinking about it. So if by artificial intelligence we mean a shortcut to avoid thinking, we mean the clouding of cognition, the purveyor of plagiarism, the piercing of our privacy, the veritable thief of the creative gift from artists and architects, the creator of hallucinations, the spinner of tales, the dehumanization of learning, and the insidious combination of made-up reality devoid of any incarnational reality, yeah, I'm against that. At the same time, if you mean the democratizer of knowledge, the simplification of the unnecessarily complex, the ability to quickly research, right? The ability to analyze, to refine thinking, to sharpen analysis and provide clarity to the written word, I'm for it. So I would say I shouldn't retreat from that firm stand. And of course, if I had asked AI to help me write this, I would have said that in a shorter way. I think there's some basic rules that we're working through how to apply and how to kind of foundationally bring into AI, and there's 7. What is AI good for? It's analysis, but maybe not understanding. I think you want students coming to you who certainly can analyze, and they can use AI as a tool to analyze, but there's a fundamental understanding that brings a lot of disciplines together, a lot of perspective together. Frankly, it's why in higher ed we have 2 years in a core curriculum that people say, I got to get through this. It's not to get through, it's to prepare them to provide the thinking that you want and the understanding that you need in your business. Refinement, not creation. It's a creative act. Humanity, we're involved in a creative act, right? If we're going to AI to create something, we're not going to fundamentally, truly understand what it is we're creating for you, because you're not seeing under the hood, but it is a beautiful tool to refine things. I think it can provide a reaction. How do I immediately deal with this situation, right? But there's the difference between reacting and responding, right? One's reactive, one is proactive. So how do we do that? It's relationships of information, but it's not relationships, right? It can provide connections that maybe a lot of us wouldn't otherwise make about how this information connects to this information over here, but it's not a tool for a relationship. You read about some of these folks and they've got relationships with AI. That's not a thing. Sorry, not a thing. I have 12 kids. I can tell you, it's not a thing. AI isn't going to further the humanity and what's going to happen there, right? It provides access, but not necessarily expertise. If y'all have been paying any attention to what Booker T. Washington's doing, he's providing access, but he's also providing a level of expertise that AI didn't dream up. He saw a need with his own eyes, and he's helping to meet that need, right? Last two things. It's an augmentation. It's not human wisdom. Human wisdom is integrative. AI, I think, can help augment that. And finally, it can provide some insight, but that incarnational experience of living out our life, right, not where it is. So I think pulling all those things together, I know that probably sounds very philosophical, but I do think that as business leaders, as educators, we have a duty to think about what AI's role is, and just as importantly, what it is not, and how do we prepare people to use it in that way.
Great, thank you. Anything to add to that, Kevin?
Yeah, so in sort of K-12 education, this is the big question that's out there, not just at Atlanta International School, but in every school, I would argue, across Atlanta, the Southeast, and talking to my colleagues around the world, pretty much every school around the world. But it's a fact, it's a reality. Our young people are going to be in a world for the rest of their lives that is AI-enabled. All right, so our ethical and moral obligation that we have as educators is to help them to be able to critically use AI to be a part of mixed intelligence teams, because that will be a fact of their life. There'll be humans they're working with. There will be various types of AI and machine intelligence that they will be working with in mixed intelligence teams. So how do we, as they grow through our schools, as they grow through our communities in partnership with our parents, how do we enable our young people to be critical and effective and ethical users of AI that will help them solve for the things that matter to them? And I completely agree with you, John. If we're just using AI to make a task quicker, to substitute for our own critical thinking, we're not learning anything. If we're using AI to challenge us, to challenge our own thinking, to help us get to that creativity and evaluative, the higher order thinking skills, and away from the describe or the define or give me 15 things that happened to start World War I. If we're using AI to get to those higher order thinking skills, then yes, it's massively in support of learning. And the big question in facing all of us, all of the adults in this room, and all of our young people now and for the rest of their lives, is how do we do this ethically with a critical sense of judgment, and equipping us as adults, because it's new for pretty much all of us, but it's also the world that our young people are going to be living in. So that's really where we're thinking of this.
It's interesting, there's this big debate now about will AI replace jobs, and I think many people agree over the long macro sense, perhaps not. But we sure are seeing it in the short term and with my clients. I've got clients now that already have AI agents on the org chart. So, Jerome.
Yeah, and first, Doug, I think I missed your question about the skill set that I'm learning more now. So, it's hitting the Zoom button or hitting the mute button when Zoom calls. I didn't know how to do that before, and I got caught a couple times.
Well, there you go.
But it's really change management for me. Is that skill set? I think as the world continues to change and evolve, and technology's at the heart of it, having hard conversations and that change management moment. Let me get to your AI piece, though. I think we have to look at AI not as a tool, right? To me, it is that broader shift in the work, kind of how work gets done. And candidly, I think to be an employer of choice, you have got to embrace AI, because students coming out of school, other people that want to join your organization, they want to be part of cutting edge moments. And so we've got to embrace that. At Verizon, we look at AI as just how do we make it practical? We've talked about ethical use here. We think about, how, telling our workforce how to understand it, how to use it responsibly, how to make sure that it's creating better outcomes, okay? And if we're using it in that matter, what happens is it sort of diverts the time that you spend on those tactical moments to being more creative and more innovative. And then, I would tell you, my team, we use it for a multitude of things. Sales training, we upskill our employees, okay? Market insights, all of those moments. From a broader customer perspective, we use it in customer service, agentic AI, to make sure that we're delivering on those interactions that we have, the millions of those on customer service every day. We use it in our network to make sure that you're getting the best experience that you can. And candidly, when you all come into our stores and you bring your bill and you say, hey, give me a better price, we use AI to analyze that and say, what's the best value that we can give to our customers? So again, it's really a shift in how work gets done, and less about a tool. But I think what you're hearing here is it's also important to do it responsibly. And we have an obligation to do that, and at Verizon, we are very, very stern on that obligation.
George.
Tough to follow my colleague, college president, who has 12 children and talked about whiskey as he introduced AI. So I'm probably going to be a little more practical, perhaps, in my response. Geez, John, you're tough to follow. And so is it a tool? And I'm not disagreeing, but it is something that we use. It is a tool. It doesn't define the success of the individual. It's something that we use. If you do your work this weekend in your yard, you may have your favorite tool that does a whole bunch of things, but you have to know how to use it. With AI, you have to know how to use the tool. We've leaned in, and I think most of us in this room have really leaned in. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about AI later, but I just have to say that most of us weren't trained in AI, and so we're interacting with faculty now in an AI institute so they can embrace it. So we talk about using it ethically, and if our students and if the people who come work for you, or if they come to work and they don't know how to use it, you're not going to hire them. So it's our responsibility to be ethical, to train the deliverers of the content the appropriate way to use AI in the setting that we're in a higher education institution. And so, it's going to change over time. We had Facebook in the early 2000s, and it was, I won't say the devil, but to some people it was. So it went from that to you use it for a whole bunch of things to now old people use it. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with AI after this.
Right.
So.
All right, we've been given a 4-minute warning here, so let's get to our last question here. What, if you look over the next 5-10 years, what would a stronger alignment between education and business in Atlanta look like? Anyone got a real good answer on that?
So I think we have to think of all of ourselves as all connected in this hub. We talked about Hartsfield-Jackson being the hub. Metro Atlanta is a hub for Georgia, for the Southeast. It's a global hub. All of our companies, all of our businesses, all of our schools, all of our colleges, all of the people that are in all of these organizations, we are all massively connected. And we are connected so many times greater now than at any point in human history. How do we, in the age of AI, enable those connections, build those synergies between companies, between schools, between businesses, between NGOs, between nonprofits, between civic organizations? And how do we get our people to embrace that? Because honestly, I have massive optimism for the future, because if we can leverage this tremendous interconnectedness that we all have, I do believe that together we will cultivate that spirited sense of hope in human potential.
What about from a business standpoint?
Yeah, I got two things. One, I think it's partnering with the educators on the stage here to shape the curriculum, right? Like, how do we make sure that you understand what we're looking for from a prepared student standpoint, and partnering to shape some of that curriculum and the applied learning opportunities. The second thing is, I think it starts earlier too. Okay, I think it starts with kids. Candidly, we think we have a responsibility as an organization to extend technology to children and the community. We do something called the Verizon Innovative Learning Labs. We've got 12 of them across the city where we do STEM education, augmented reality, virtual reality. AI is a part of that. And to give that to a kid to broaden their horizons, I think is super important at an early age. I think also, you know, we do the same thing for educators. We've got free AI courses and for small businesses. But those two things, I think, definitely.
Okay, I'm getting this signal over here. I think we're out of time. Again, how about a round of applause for our panel?